Thank you for joining us for the Village Board of East Aurora meeting for December 19th, 2022. If you could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Maureen. Can I get attendance, please?
Trustee Lizickis.
Here.
Trustee Cameron.
Here.
Trustee Vijay.
Here.
Trustee Flynn.
Here.
Trustee Kimmelhart.
Here.
Trustee Shear.
Here.
Mayor Mercurio.
Present.
7 present, 0 absent.
Thank you. I get a motion to approve the minutes of the Village Board meeting for December 5th, 2022.
So moved.
Moved by Marcia, second.
Second.
Second by Kristen. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. I got a motion to approve the payment of abstracts for 12/19/22 for voucher numbers 62962 to 63020 for a total of $64,250.
So moved.
Moved by Grace, second.
Second.
Second by Marcia. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. All right, it is my pleasure to ask Dave Zaporowski to come up here, please. You can meet me in the front. All right. Let me read through this kind of quickly, but whereas in 1982, Dave Zaporowski was hired as a part-time dispatcher at the East Aurora Police Department. And in 2022, Dave is completing his dispatch career that has spanned 4 decades. And whereas Dave has served with dedication and distinction, receiving several commendations during his career for incidents in which he played a vital role in dispatching calls for a variety of emergency situations. And whereas Dave was highly skilled as a public safety dispatcher, as he routinely assisted 911 callers in stressful situations and aiding responding officers and emergency personnel by relaying all pertinent information for each situation. And whereas Dave was renowned for his commitment to his job as a dispatcher, always willing to cover, even when others were unavailable, whether it be during the day or overnight, fitting in those shifts in between his full-time job of serving first in the New York State Department of Corrections and then working for the state as a parole officer. Now, therefore, on the occasion of his retirement, having served for 40 years as a dispatcher at the East Aurora Police Department, I, Mayor Peter Mercurio, on behalf of the Village Board and all of our citizens, extend heartfelt congratulations to Dave Zaporowski with sincere appreciation and gratitude for his dedicated service to the community and wish him a long and happy and healthy retirement. Like to say a few words?
No.
Or here.
Stay quiet.
Hard to leave, Dave. Yeah, it's gotta be hard for you. Way to go, bud. All right, first speakers and communications. Reminder, we do have a public hearing on the Aurora Cider House. So if you want to speak on the Aurora Cider House, you will get an opportunity during the public hearing. Meanwhile, this is an open speakers and communications for anyone to speak on any issue. Raise your hand when acknowledged. Come up, give us your name and address, please, and let us know your thoughts. There'll be a second opportunity at the end of the meeting as well. Anyone? Sir.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sam Jaworski, live at 270 Buffalo Road, Unit 6, captain of the East Aurora Fire Department of Pioneer Hook and Ladder. I just wanted to pass along to all of you. Some of you may have noticed on our truck ramp of East Aurora Fire Hall at 33 Center Street that we have a new donation spot for the Fish of East Aurora. Just wanted you all to be aware of that and pass along to your constituents that we're taking donations there for the Fish of East Aurora. Nice, easy box, black box labeled very clearly on the front of our ramp. Just wanted to pass that along.
Any food donations, Sam, that just people just put in the box, and what weekly you guys bring them over, or how's that work?
Yeah, a couple times a week, we have people come and grab them out, and we put them near our tree in the truck bay and take them over to the Fish.
So also Fish doesn't take what don't they take? Because I know we've taken things there that they don't want anymore.
As far as I'm aware, it's just canned and non-perishable
food,
goods.
no clothing, no
Yeah,
things like that.
Just non-perishable goods. Baby diapers also, I'm being told.
Okay.
Very good.
All right. That's all I
Awesome.
got.
It's a great idea. Thanks, Sam. Thanks,
Thank you
Fire
all.
Department.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Okay, moving on to our first public hearing. Can I get a motion to open a public hearing to review the special use permit issued to the Aurora Cider House at 198 Main Street at 7:06 PM?
So moved.
Moved by Kristen, second by Marcia. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. The public hearing is now open. Kathy, you want to start us off?
No, Maureen likes it for the recording. So this came about, actually, of course, Liz and I work closely together all the time, and we have noted for some time that while the cider house does have their original special use permit, that was basically for their inside operations and seating, and they have a number of things that they have done since they have basically been operating in that location on Main Street. That they have done a lot of things outside. I'm not knew some music, but also I know they have, actually, if you go by there tonight, you'll see nobody's sitting out there tonight, as you might guess, but there's a row of picnic tables going along the side. I think they might do some things potentially even in the parking lot. And they've had food trucks, very expertly parked in between the two buildings there. That actually the public can partake in, so it's not just their own private thing where they're doing food trucks for their customers. So all of these things would have required to have been on their special use permit, and Liz has informed them that they should have come to the village to amend their permit, to ask to have permission for these items, and they have not ever done that to date. But so that is why we are looking at this tonight. We just had one of these similar reviews with one of the other businesses in town. So we are hoping that we can talk about whatever the potential issues are, which just went over those. I don't know if there's anything further, Liz, that we would add. And I think they did come to see, someone from the cider house did come to see you and said that they would potentially amend their permit, but we haven't seen an application yet. Or... Okay, so we don't have a complete application yet.
What are they asking for in the application?
Well, Lenny is here, so he could speak to it more, but he does have the details about the exterior seating. And did mention some of the events that they do throughout the year and music, outdoor music.
And you're working with them on the application?
Yeah, we just need the owner's authorization.
And just going back on the events, I know we go back and forth, and I know some people do potentially get confused, but to allay the confusion, if they know they have events that they're going to have on a regular basis every year, those can be included right in the special use permit, and potentially, of course, everything's subject to your approval ultimately.
Mhm.
And it could potentially get reviewed by the planning commission, and does come back, gets a recommendation, comes back to you, and you can approve all of it or some of it. That is certainly the board's prerogative. And but then if they have other events that they're having that they didn't have covered under their special use permit that are just coming up on a sporadic basis, then those also need that temporary use permit if they fall under the criteria that they're having a larger crowd and that type of a thing.
Okay. Does the owner want to come up and introduce himself and give us his opinion, his view?
I'm Lenny Schulich. I'm the owner of Aurora Cider House. So in 2018, when we filed our special use permit, we had no intention of having any outside seating or any type of outside music. Obviously, March of 2020 changed a lot of that. So we kind of amended our situation, kind of changed our business plan a little bit. We had some outside seating, and we have very limited music, generally acoustic on Friday evenings outside, just from like May to September. I filed the addition and the amendment to the special use permit, adding the outside seating and also adding music that would be from May till September. It's shown like one player acoustic. Sometimes we have two people in there. But so we've done all the revisions, and all we're doing is waiting for the landlord's awareness of the fact that we've done this. So
Is that Brian Fisher?
it is.
Yeah.
It is.
All right.
So we've emailed them a couple times. They're not really that fast to respond. So hopefully they'll respond to Liz and then we'll get a final application
Okay.
to you guys.
Yeah, you know, that special use permits are revocable.
I do know that.
Yeah. And so, we've approved lots of outdoor seating and lots of outdoor music. So it's usually not a big production or anything. So it's nice that you can work with Liz and
Sure,
get that done, just so it's all on the up and documented and
absolutely.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we control it really well. Our music is only from 7 to 10. And then same thing with outside seating. I mean, we have benches there. We're actually going to remove, there's 9 there. We're removing 3 of those. They don't really get that much use at all. East River Runners Club on Thursday generally uses them. In the summer, people will sit out there on Fridays and Saturdays, but for the most part, it's very, very controlled. A lot of garbage and everything else all taken care of right there. So
Okay, I encourage you to continue to work with the code enforcement office. Any of the trustees have anything for proprietor?
I was a little surprised to see very specifically, it was a condition, was no outdoor dining is allowed or permitted. So that was the original, when we approved the permit in 2018.
yeah.
And I know on your original drawing, you showed outside seating, but it looks like that was denied because of the condition.
Yeah, I'm not sure of that. I can't remember. I mean, that was in 2018.
Yeah, there's, yeah, that you have picnic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tables in the alley area where you normally keep the food truck, I think.
So yeah, so that alley area was, I mean, we didn't add anything until after March of 2020, quite honestly. So obviously we couldn't have anybody inside and we had to do something to keep our business going.
Yeah.
So, but we don't serve any food at the cider house. So anybody brings in food, they'll bring it in from like Barbell or 189 or Misters or Pasquale's.
But you do have you do sometimes invite people in to cook though, right?
The lobster truck?
Just outside. So we had the main bite was there summer of 2021. And then we had just one other food truck there one other time.
And the taco guy.
That's not us. He's inside, yeah. On
He's
Tuesdays.
inside, but he's not you. Okay.
Yeah. He's independent. I mean, we bring him in, we let him do his thing and then
Okay.
just because gives a little bit of added thing for the
Good
people.
too.
Yeah.
But Liz,
Okay.
who's the taco guy then?
Lloyd, right?
But I'm
No,
saying,
no.
if they're
No.
bringing him inside the building,
Yeah.
it's them.
Inside the building does not matter.
So it's you, just so you're clear.
Okay, yeah.
He doesn't need a permit. It still comes to you.
And just one other thing, during COVID, the board was very supportive of all East Aurora businesses and made special dispensation where I was able to very quickly with staff input approve permits for people to have outside things that didn't have anything outside before. And we did publicize it to all the businesses. I don't believe you had asked us at the time when COVID was going on for one of those special permits either. So I think the issue really is that we're just trying to be consistent with all of our businesses and trying to have them be in compliance. And we really hope that we can work with you in the very near future to make you
Yeah,
be in
problems.
that
I mean,
mode.
I met with Liz. We worked out, the permit is amended. We filed our fee and we're just trying to make sure we're compliant.
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Lenny. Anyone else from the public want to speak on this issue? All right. I got a motion to close the public hearing for the special use permit issued at the Aurora Cider House at 198 Main Street at 7:14 PM.
So moved.
Moved by Marcia, second.
I'll second.
Second by Molly. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. All right, first official consideration. Can I get a motion to approve a temporary use permit for Shabbat of Buffalo for menorah lighting on December 22nd at 676 Main Street?
So moved.
I was just gonna add, they're also asking for us to waive the mailer fee. Are you making that part of your motion?
Sure.
All right, moved by Steve, second,
Second.
seconded by Grace. Further discussion? I think it's great.
Yeah.
We're a very inclusive community and this just shows it, right?
Absolutely.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Can I get a motion to award the bid for the Aurora Players Roof Building?
So moved.
Moved by Kristen, second,
Second.
second by Marcia. Further discussion. What was the first, Kathy or Maureen, what was the first bid? You remember how much it came in the first time? 250. We only had one bidder, right?
250.
Yeah, so we thought that was high. We put it back out for bid. Now it's coming in 186,000, so
Nice.
paid off.
How many
Oh.
people came in? Two.
3 of them came in.
3 bid this time and we got a much lower.
The
price,
other
so
2 were much higher too.
Good.
And this was another instance where we were very pointed that we wanted to get our bids out right at this time when the contractors were looking to fill up their schedules for the coming season. So we think that this was effective as far as getting this very nice lower price bid for this project.
What's the time frame? Do you know?
I don't know what we're doing on the time frame as far as when the work is going to start. I think the main thing is going to be if they have to get trucks and materials in there, and as far as the softness of the ground, if after the snow melt, would you agree with that, Matt? How long can we hold these bids open?
June or July?
What'd you say, June?
He's talking about June to get people in there to do the roof, or when were you planning on the roof work starting?
They'd be out of there by July.
Springtime at the earliest, so when everything is conducive to getting that started, we will,
Contractor
Yeah,
until
yes.
after you approve the bid. So
right.
you'll not really know for sure.
Yeah, Kathy, can you make sure the contractor touches base with Jesse and the tree board? Just to make sure that as they're doing their work, they're not doing anything that's gonna cause the demise of any of our trees in the park, please.
With the bids, was the low bid vetted if it was significantly lower than the other two?
Did you do the vetting of who checked out the low bidder? Okay, Dan Colkman is here from Engineer. Do you want to talk?
In addition to going canvassing the bid documents themselves, we asked for additional information on their experience and reviewed that.
Perfect.
So no reason to not. Okay.
All right, anything else? Any other discussion? Moved by Kristen, second by Marcia. All those in favor?
I
Opposed? Approved. I get a motion to advertise for bids for improvements to the culvert structure between 227, behind 227 Main Street. Right now, nobody making the motion? All right, so we put a pin in it and move on to D. I get a motion to approve the East Aurora Fire Department election results.
so moved.
Second.
Moved by Kristen, second by Steve. We have Roger LeBlanc as fire chief. Congratulations, Roger. Mark Hartley is first assistant chief. Aaron Denz is second assistant chief. Congratulations, Aaron. And third assistant chief is Bob Mathewson, and fourth assistant chief is Chris Shack at East End Active Hose. Moved by Kristen, second by Steve. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
I
Opposed? Approved. Congratulations, fellas.
Thanks for your service.
I get a motion to approve a resolution to appoint election inspectors.
I'll make a motion.
Moved by Molly, second.
I'll second.
Second by Steve.
Beat you by like-
Further discussion? It's Brad Felton, Saxon Deck, Rod Simeon, and Karen Hintz. We appreciate them doing this. All those in favor?
I
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. I get a motion to set a public hearing on January 17th to consider a local law to exceed the tax cap.
so moved.
Moved by Kristen, second.
Second.
Second by Grace. Further discussion? All those in favor?
I
Opposed? Approved. I get a motion to set a public hearing on January 17th to consider local law to amend Village Code Section 285-31.7-F.
You would like an explanation, Mr. Mayor?
What's that?
I didn't know if you wanted me to give a,
Well,
rundown of
let-
it.
I'm gonna
let's
make
just-
that
Yeah, let's
motion.
get the motion in a second and then we'll have you weigh in. Moved by
Marcia.
Marcia. I didn't hear you actually. Make the motion. Seconded by Molly. That's 2 L's. All right. Further discussion. I was waiting for you to actually make the motion. I didn't hear it.
Oh.
That's why. I did remember you.
Although what's your name?
Further discussion, Kathy, would you like to tell us about this?
I'm dying to, Mayor, obviously. We all remembered that just at your last meeting, you adopted your cannabis zoning regulations. And I had attended a cannabis training from NICOM and excellent, well done. Even though a lot of the information was things we already knew because it's been going on for a while, some of the things were new. And one of the new things that somebody else said they thought they saw it before, but I just noticed it at the training last week, that that the state might, if someone requests a permit to have a cannabis retail operation, that in conjunction with that request, that they could ask for a drive-through part of their operation. And my thing went off off the bat, because I know we don't allow, there's a number of places that we don't allow drive-throughs. We do in some cases for like banks and pharmacies. So I went and looked at this section of our code, and it says that they're prohibited for restaurants and things like that. And one of the other specific things it mentions that drive-throughs are prohibited in our current code are for liquor stores. And one of the other things that I've learned throughout this entire project, and it's kind of been beaten in my little head, is that if you put in your regulations and treat cannabis operations very similar to your liquor stores, you're okay. So I was thinking that since we allow so few places to have drive-throughs, that it might still be the board's inclination to not want to have the cannabis retail operations have drive-through operations like we don't allow the liquor stores. So that is a proposal just to add to that section of our code that prohibits drive-throughs, that drive-throughs are prohibited, to add cannabis retail dispensaries.
I would imagine Shane's on board with that.
Absolutely.
Grab and go.
All right, any other discussion before we set this public hearing? All right, moved by Marcia, second by Molly. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Public hearing set. I get a motion to approve the budget modification for the 2022-2023 budget.
So moved.
Moved by Kristen, second.
I'll second.
Second by Molly. Further discussion. Sure.
It is to take the money that is currently unreserved in fund balance and reserve it, and allow us to increase our expense line for the purchase of the Fisher Price property, which is going to be needing a check written shortly.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. I get a motion to approve the payment of an abstract that will be made and voucher to be recorded at a later date for a total of 1.4 million for the purchase of Fisher Price land on Gerard at 0 Gerard and 0 Bowen.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Marcia, second. Second by Ernie. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. All right, burn through it. Going to previous business, discussion, decision on proposals to realign East Fillmore Avenue and propose sidewalks in the tannery in the area in conjunction with the town of Aurora project to replace the East Fillmore Avenue Bridge over Tannery Brook. Where we at, Kathy?
I wasn't at your meeting right before Thanksgiving, but I know that you were very anxious and supportive of getting input from the residents. All those residents in that area got postcards inviting them to that meeting, and you got their input at that time. I'm pretty well aware that a lot of you have had other conversations otherwise, and I have put out some information and email about it. So you are at the juncture now when the highway superintendent who's here from the town had originally let you know about this. Was it back in October? I think you first came here, Dave, about this. And kind of laid it out for you very quickly and said, you know, the town absolutely is going to replace that bridge. It's got a grant to do it. It's going to do it in the next construction season. And it's going to change the 1-lane bridge that is currently existing to a 2-lane bridge. As part of that, as it has been described to you, that it might be a good idea for the village to pay for, and we had an initial estimate. Now we have a more firm engineer's estimate of $113,000. If you so choose to realign the road, that will work better with where the new 2-lane bridge is going. And then, oh, by the way, if you want to put in sidewalks also in that area, had an original estimate on that, but now we have a more firm engineer's estimate for that. And both those estimates include contingency, by the way, of $43,000. There's a third component that you haven't talked about very much that is probably somewhat of a no-brainer because there's a water line in this area and Matt could certainly speak to it. But when the bridge construction is going on, it certainly makes sense for us to join in with the project for the water line component of that. And we had an estimate for that. Also, $60,000. Was that what we had for that? So for that water line replacement. So that is where that all stands right now. So I actually have depending on what you all would like to do, or the majority of you would like to do, certainly. We do have a resolution prepared for the water line, so you could consider that separately. If you wanted to go ahead and do that, as I said, that would be our responsibility in any event, and the water line doesn't need replacing, so.
So you have a
It's-
resolution for the water line for us to approve that separately? And
Yes.
Matt, you're saying it definitely needs that water line?
Actually, Kristen.
Yeah.
Let's pass that down.
And then you have resolutions for the sidewalk, against the sidewalk, for the realignment and against the realignment.
I have all four of those resolutions, depending on what the majority of the board would like to, depending on whichever way you go. But either yes for the alignment, no for the alignment, yes for the sidewalk, no for the sidewalk.
Kathy, you mentioned 113
night
for the
thing.
bridge. What's the sidewalk cost?
The sidewalk was the 43,000, I believe. That's 43,000.
Total
And
of
that's
all the
for
work,
one,
two
that's for
sixteen.
one, only one sidewalk, right, on one side?
Yeah, it's just on the one side, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
On the east side?
Yes.
All right, well, we can start with the water line. That might be the easy one.
Yeah,
Can I get a motion to approve the resolution, for the village to pay it looks like estimated amount of $60,000 to replace the existing water line across the bridge?
Yep, so moved.
So by Kristen,
Sure. Can you read?
I'll
second by Marcia. For the
I'm-
discussion?
Mayor,
Wait a second, wait a
I'm
minute.
terribly sorry. I did these all and did them originally with placeholders for the numbers, and then we got the exact numbers. And I think I left a placeholder number for the water line, so it should not be 60,000, it should be 55,000 is the engineer's estimate
And this
that we have.
52 and 6.
wasn't on any of our information prior to this, was there?
No,
52 regular and 60 contingent. Yeah.
40, I'm sorry, that's Church Street, right?
Contingent. Yeah.
60 for East Fillmore for the water line?
Mhm.
Then I stand corrected. My resolution is correct. My apologies.
All right, Steve, had a question for you, Kathy?
No, I mean, how many different versions are there on these?
You have one resolution if you wish to approve the water line segment of the project to join with the town when they replace the bridge.
Gotcha. And that's all we're looking at here, not.
That is all you are looking at here. It is lengthy and it has a lot in it. Because we want to
And
make
this
sure
needs
that,
to be tonight, or we're not
We're just
approving
seeing this,
sidewalks
yeah.
tonight, we're not, we're
Well,
just seeing
that's your
this
next
now.
discussion.
This is the first part.
So like we're splitting this conversation up into multiple parts because the water line is,
Kind of an essential,
talk about,
no
yeah.
brainer, we should move forward and get it done,
There's three parts to it.
I understand,
There's water line,
sidewalk,
sidewalk on the east side.
and then the
realignment
curb.
of the-
but yeah, no matter what, the water line ought to get done.
It's gotta get.
Yeah.
I want to read this for a second. I haven't seen it.
yes,
Sorry.
why don't you
I
all
mean-
take time to read
Yeah.
the resolution, please?
please.
Before we vote on it, that'd be a great idea.
I think that's
Really nice.
wonderful.
Do they have the other
Yeah.
four resolutions?
Does this, I mean, never mind,
Mhm.
I'm good.
Kathy, do you want to pass them out while they're reading? You want to pass them out while they're reading so they have them?
The other ones?
Yeah.
Sure.
He's doing it by the way.
Before I do. So if you're, obviously you're reading the waterline one now, you'll see that the other two, if you decide to go the approval route and join with the town for the other two components, the wording is essentially the same. It's just changing it for which component you're looking at. The resolutions not to approve it says you're not approving it.
Are we expected to vote on those other two propositions tonight too?
Ones we've been talking about.
Yeah, but no opportunity to read ahead of time and all that sort of thing, and
I think it's basically, we're approving the sidewalk or not, we're approving the realignment or not,
all right.
and the cost that's associated with it. I mean, we've been talking about the details for a while.
A meeting or two, yeah, but to be not on the agenda till now.
We didn't really have a discussion since the public hearing. As
We haven't.
No,
No, I agree.
Those are his two. I have all three.
yeah.
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 Yeah, 5 minutes.
Say no.
Hmm?
The one which ones.
No water line, no, that's.
Right.
To have to read 4 pages of documents that you're voting on, you're being held liable for. In 5 minutes.
I have some questions for the town. Can I do that? Dave and Lou, how are you? A couple of questions about. Sure. I have a couple of questions about the project. The first one, there's an electric pole right onto the right of the bridge.
It's a site.
Do you know whose responsibility it will be to remove that pole?
Are you talking on the west side, the northwest side near the Marshall property? I
Yeah,
believe
yeah.
That would be part of the bid
Town?
contract.
Okay. Town
Yes.
scope or village scope? Do you know?
Town or
The
what?
town or village scope to move that?
If you realign the road, it would be,
It's gonna end up in the road right at the bridge regardless.
well, I guess, to answer trustee Lizikis's question, we came here in October and explained how we needed by the end of the year a decision. After today, depending on your decision, we have to relook at the drawing or we move forward with the drawing we have. So I'm not really clear, trustee Begier. I'm not sure what we would do,
Okay.
but it would, the design, we have to relook at a lot. So good catch. You're right. It's going to be an issue. I just
Okay.
not. So I guess the answer to that, no, it would not be the village's problem if the village isn't a partner in this project. Okay.
How about trees? Do you guys have any plans to plant more trees for account for the ones you are taking out? Or would you be willing to work with the village tree board to address?
Yeah,
the
thank
trees?
you. We did that, a good collaboration on the Ridge project. We would absolutely be happy to. And I think I've made that clear to all the residents here, whatever we can do to make this as pleasant as possible.
This might be a question for your engineer, or you. Are there any concerns with doing the East Fillmore Bridge before the Church Street Bridge with any ice damming further down the road? Like the Church Street Bridge getting jammed up more because of this bridge being widened?
It's a good
Should they be
question.
done at the same time, I guess is more my question.
Yeah, see, the problem is we have a Bridge New York grant with a deadline of next year. We're gonna be able to postpone the Church Street Bridge because of property rights. We're allowed to exempt that for another year. We don't have any property issues at all on East Fillmore, so we cannot delay this project. So it's a good question. I don't believe it would impact that.
Okay.
But so that's the reason why Church Street is being held off for 1 year.
I guess I'm in the same boat as Steve with reviewing this right now.
Well, I think
So,
one of the main things that we
To
said.
what you said about starting the conversation in October, you're 100% correct.
Thank
We
you.
were told you were gonna do this in October,
Right.
but amongst us, and we did hear from the residents last meeting or the meeting prior.
Right.
This I didn't see till you saw me hand it and get handed to it now.
Yeah.
So
no,
that's not, it's not the issue of,
right.
it's how much I have resolved it in my own line of thinking. And then to cram this in my head and then say, yes, no.
Sure. And I understand. And
That's-
I think that the town's not really concerned about your resolution. It's just more, we just need to know so we can proceed. We actually are planning within weeks having our informational meeting with the residents. But this is a huge issue. We have to make a decision. Like you mentioned on your roof issue, right now is the time we need to get these bids out so we can take advantage of the markets. So that was the reason we, kind of said we need to know by the end of the year. Do we need this voted on tonight as a formal resolution? Yeah, I guess we all love to just put this to bed. But if you're not comfortable with the language of that paper, that really doesn't mean nothing to me. I just
guess-
need to know
Well,
whether.
my opinion was, I wish you guys would have came with a resolution to us too. So we would have had something to vote on versus just like a handshake verbal agreement, something we had in writing, knowing what our obligations were with the town.
We can do that if you'd prefer. Like I said, the only reason for the hurry, and I just want to make sure the village knows too, we weren't aware of this property issue till we surveyed that property in September. So we brought this whole issue to the village as fast as we knew about it. So I understand how it felt like we were just dropping a bomb on everybody of a problem, but we tried to get it to you as fast. I literally put it on the agenda in October as fast as I knew. I called the DPW superintendent to confirm the right of way issue. Apparently he knew about it, but we didn't know until 2 weeks before we told you. But unfortunately, we have a deadline that's by the end of next year. So, if you're not comfortable, I don't think the board minds waiting. We just want to know what you want to do.
Well,
That's all.
for me, this is the first time I'm seeing a concrete number.
I
There was
understand.
like this
Yeah.
nebulous number before, and I think to discuss and make a decision and vote
Sure.
when we don't
And
know.
Marcia, make it
the
clear,
money,
that's
you know?
not a firm number. It's gonna be whatever the bid is too.
It's a
So that's an
It's a
estimate. We hope.
guesstimate, but I mean,
Sure.
this, yeah. So, and one other thing, like, I know I'm nitpicking on this one, but this one does say sidewalks. Rather than
It's one sidewalk on the east
Okay.
side. It's
Even though
a,
it shows as plural.
I didn't write the
Okay.
document,
Okay, just want to make sure that,
but if you prefer the town to draw something up, we didn't have any kind of information to do that. But I don't see a problem with if you'd prefer us to do it. It literally just comes down to a bid going out and two municipalities agreeing on what portion they're gonna pay. That's,
have we really decided or could, I mean, do we have any options other than realigning Fillmore? Because there was,
yeah, I understand.
we could still leave it the way it is and.
Yeah, Marcia, and
Is it-
actually even today I found out more information from Jerry Thompson Senior. Apparently, and I don't know if it's true, maybe Matt knows, apparently you still have a right of way all the way from Main Street. This road was called North Elmwood at one time. So this road was laid out where it is, and we found that out. The new bridge no matter what we do, even if we did a one lane, which we're not proposing, cannot go where it currently exists because it goes off into Martha Collins's property. No matter what, that bridge cannot be replaced where it is, even if you wanted to put what you have there. It's not on your property. So for us to move it then, and of course, we are insisting on the 2-lane bridge, which we're moving forward, moves it over to that west side so that if we don't reconfigure, what you're going to see, and I'm going to try to get a little bit more of a picture visual going driving from East Fillmore from Pine Street, that existing curve that's very dangerous will continue to be there, and it'll actually be accentuated because we'll have to put a guide rail through the existing pavement to funnel you off of that road into the bridge and then funnel you back. Okay. Because if you didn't have a guide rail there, you'd drive right off the wing wall into the creek. So what you would cause is you'd cause literally a snake going through there that would go from 2 lanes to 1 lane to 2 lanes to 1 lane to 2 lanes. We can do that. That's not what we would recommend. I don't think there's many people could recommend that from a safety standpoint. So when we also looked at it, just to throw the sidewalk in there too, we felt with the way it's reconfigured now for it to be safe to have an access for the pedestrians, we plan on putting the sidewalk on that side of the bridge. It doesn't have to connect though. That's something that you can decide on your own. But when you see this completed project, it's not going to be a curved road anymore. It's literally going to be back to what the original plan, whoever made it 100 years ago, of a regular right-hand turn like all village streets. It wouldn't have this snaking around. 1940s when the village opened it to the public. I found more out about that. But it appears at one time, because you still even have a right-of-way coming all the way from Elmwood Ave in Maine, the fathers planned on it being there. So it kind of forced us to do that. So back to what is our options if we don't realign the road? It's not what we would recommend, but it's fine if that's what.
So it's going to be a 90-degree.
Yeah, it's going to be more of a regular road look. So it's hard to explain that without looking at it.
Right. No, I've seen the drawings.
But it's just, we got forced by these property lines to make this happen. It wasn't like we had a choice. So literally right now up on that curve, the property line is literally right at the road. There's no even right of way period there. So the new road design will pull that road back. So where people currently have road is they're going to actually gain quite a bit of property on that side and on the other side of the bridge. So if you have a sidewalk, I'm not trying to push either way. Where the sidewalk is proposed actually won't even be where their property was. It would be where the road is now, but not on the East Fillmore side. There is 2 houses that would have a brand new sidewalk connecting to the existing sidewalk that's there. Did I help with that? Or?
On the west side.
That would be on the south side. So I'm talking on East Fillmore before the curve. Okay. Right now, there's a sidewalk that ends 2 houses before the curve.
Right.
Those 2 houses are kind of the only 2 that literally will end up with a sidewalk on what was their lawn. Okay.
So for those individuals, then they'll have new responsibility for sidewalks that they haven't ever had before.
I don't know the village codes. I know I have to shovel my sidewalk. I live in the village. I don't.
Oh.
Now, as far as the one gentleman with the drainage issue, we talked to our engineers. That's not a problem. We would be forced to tie it back in properly in the construction of it. So I know that was at your public hearing that there was brought up. So anything that's existing we run into, let's say we run into more of that, that's just normal construction that you find a way to tie it in. It's not something that we would have recommended that the drainage was put there, but because it's existing, you know, we kind of have to put it back. Okay.
And how does it work with the sidewalks as far as us putting sidewalks in? Cost wise for the residents?
Your current code says that new sidewalks are installed in location If the village pays for half and the property. Or half of the cost, and the way it costs to turn the property owner is assessed. As far as how much is title for that house. But let's say one property one's most big as the other, and it's $9,000. $18,000, $9,000 cost property. So it would be 6,000 and one and 3,000. This is super simplified, but that's how it's in your current code. What is there?
All right.
I just, it is.
That's actually, that's standard. When you look at it.
They did a grant at one time, replaced the sidewalks all over town, and including in front of my house. We had to pay for half the cost.
It's the
And
bid
village
thing.
got the grant for the other half. Remember, we paid for it. But it was still a pretty good deal, I think, after the.
What do you guys want to do?
I was.
Or that, I just assumed this was part of the cost of the project. So if that's the fact, I can see how somebody would be very upset with that.
So does the board want to table it till next month, or does the board want to make a decision now? It's up to you guys. Girls. Ladies.
Can we, I guess we can deal with the water, right?
No, the
Well,
water.
we can certainly
hey,
discuss it.
Water line question.
Is that,
How far does that water line with this project go?
yeah,
I mean, just where the bridge and the new road is? So that's deteriorated, but none of the other stuff up Fillmore is, or that's just as long as we have it dug
Right,
up?
no, just
that
within the,
part.
just within the construction limits, there'd be a valve placed on either side of the bridge and a new line put between the new valves.
So the valves are there for service down the road.
Correct.
And if we ever want to do it again.
Yep.
Or continue.
There's a
on.
4-inch main that runs East Fillmore to North Elmwood over to Martin. And we'll put 8-inch under the bridge with 2 valves.
Steve, just to make it clear, you do have that issue on Church Street.
Thank you.
That's when we did that on the way to leave to that part of the other. You don't want to leave it under a bridge. You know, way to change it later.
I want to again offer to anyone, if you do want to meet for a work session or have a town village meeting to go over these issues 2-on-2 or have it formally announced. Again, extending that offer. If you want to sit down around a table and hammer out anything, we are certainly willing to do that. You know our position, and I think we've explained that to you well, but there's a lot of details. And so, anytime we've got the holidays coming up, but I think we're all pretty much here. So we can do it whenever you want to, so that you've got more time to go into the details and do whatever. I think it's important for us just to get a decision no later than. All right.
We're ready to proceed.
So really whatever we can do, let us know. We'll get you whatever information. Grace, you suggest something. I don't even know what that is, but we'll work on it if we have to, just to try to,
well, just like Kathy wrote a resolution for us to protect our interests. Or I would assume you guys would have something similar, like an agreement for us to sign with the town.
We can tell them to go forward with it without doing the resolution, all right?
Yeah, that'd be fine. We don't.
yeah.
Or do we?
Well,
Well, you gotta put it
wants to
on.
go
You gotta put it on
after
the bid.
design.
The resolution.
They gotta do it as a package. That's,
Yeah.
you're saying we need to make a decision on 1, 2, 3, so you can include them or not include them in your.
Thank you. Yeah, so we're literally just because you weren't at our meeting, we are at this time planning on demolition starting April 1st. Okay. We are planning on notifying, the services to make sure that the road is ready for that to be closed. At that time, we're hoping, Steve, to get the bid out in April. So we're out to bid so that at 30 days by May 1st, we're hoping to have awards.
Well, then we can vote on this in January, right?
Right, but the part of
We
our.
just table this to the beginning of January, then you have your answer by mid-January.
Okay, part of our process now, because it's determined by the state DOT is we have to go through our own public hearings. So these residents, I think, really want to know too. We can't do that until we know. So Yeah, I guess
You
theoretically,
can't hold public meetings until we make up our mind.
well, because the drawing won't be
Well,
the
they're
same.
completed. I get it.
We need to know, they need to know.
Well, I know, well, that's one of the reasons why I'm hesitant.
Today?
I don't know 100%. I know how majority of these folks feel, they voice their opinions.
Right.
And I'm torn between what I want to give them.
Sure, and
what
every
I wanna make a
elected
decision,
official. has to do
Because the realignment makes sense. Half of these folks that, and I haven't sat down and had a cup of coffee with them to say, it's their neighborhood, they live there, and I know what you're saying. You want to put a snake in front of a brand new bridge and make this a goofy thing, and this bridge is coming in anyway. So then one person, and I've often thought like, well, it doesn't really matter what I think, it's gotta happen.
that. Right, and I can
Right?
appreciate
And
that.
so I'm pinned into a corner. As of October, I was, when you came in and said, we're doing this surprise without talking to us, and now we're here, it's kicked down the road 2 months, and you're saying, make a decision now, and then I get this 5 minutes ago,
Okay.
and now that's not pressure, and then these folks see me vote, yeah, go ahead and do it, and they're like, Steve, off my list. But, you know, I'm being candid with you guys, and that's how I exactly feel.
Sure, and I think you can understand too, we have to represent all the town residents and the village residents, so we're trying to put together the best package for everybody.
Agreed.
We again understand that you have to make a decision for the village in their interests, but we have ours too. So we have deadlines that
Understood.
it's not, we're not pushing, ramming it down anybody's throat. We're told by the state, we have to have that done and paid for by December 31st of 2023.
So as part of your bid package, can you make these 3 issues, 3 alternates in your package?
No,
And then
no.
based on the price, we can.
No, the whole
stay-
design's completely changed. No, you can't do that. You
Why
either
not?
are reconfiguring the road or you're not. There's no, it's you one or the other. I mean, you can't make a bid like that. No.
Could.
We could ask your engineer if he
You don't
could,
want-
right?
I mean, you choose not to, but it could be done there. No? You could.
So you're suggesting we put out a bid
With all
for
two
one
alternates.
road and a different road in the same bid?
The bridge. The advance to the curve. And then the sidewalk.
Because okay.
No, I'm just. She asked, I've seen lots of. construction
Okay.
documents like that. But I know you don't choose, it's not the preferred, understood.
Can we
Your
make a decision?
base bid could be the road reconstruction. Your water line and the sidewalks could be alternates.
Okay, yes, you could do that. You could, but as far as the bridge road design, there's only one design for a road.
Right, but we can make the other 2 alternates.
Right.
Then
Okay,
we
is
could
that
see
what
how
the
much
village would
road
like us to do?
reconstruction was.
I guess that's,
I think I'd also want to ask your
okay,
engineer.
you're right. I can do
Look at
anything.
all
Okay,
alternates.
I can see if we can do that. I'm not sure.
It's
You're
worth the
still
question,
back
right?
to, I wouldn't have that bid out then till May for your decision then. Okay, yeah.
I mean, I understand that your urgency, but we also want to make sure we do it right.
Well, there's more to it too, Grace. Right now, we have tree work that has to be done by April 30th because of the long nose bat issue. That's going to determine a lot of my tree work. I need to get in there this winter to work. While you guys are trying to decide what to do, we have stuff that needs to be done. And it's not just about the bid, it's about preparing for the whole job. So I can appreciate your hesitancy on making a decision, but I don't think this really needs to wait another 6 months of thinking about it.
I'm not suggesting that. I don't think Grace is suggesting.
Okay.
that. And that's an exaggeration.
Okay, well,
We're telling you by January 15th, we can have this decision.
that's good.
If that's fair.
Would you like to just table it till
What's
then?
our Meeting date.
That's our next meeting.
17.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. The 17th.
How
Well,
about
that's
the-
all I'm talking about. If that could
That's
give me
great.
that time to meet with our constituents and discuss it further amongst the board.
Absolutely.
Because, you
We're
know,
fine with
and-
that.
And I have 90% in my head of which way this is all gonna go, but
Yeah,
I would at least like to
yeah.
vet it through.
Yeah,
everything.
and trustee Lizickis, I would love to meet with you out there. If I could have a trustee to be a liaison would be great. However you want to handle it, table it for now, but we would like this decision made. All right. If you can make a commitment by that 17th, we can live with that.
I-
Okay.
Does
But
the
you can
rest of the
proceed
board-
with the tree work too, right? I mean, it doesn't
Yeah, no, it
Yeah,
does
I mean,
matter.
it's like, we're
It,
not holding you up there, right?
it does, yes,
If it- if
because
it stays or doesn't.
there's a law with the DEC that we're not allowed to work in the Creekway after a deadline. Okay, so but January 17th is fine. I guess what I was saying is I don't need to wait till April.
I guess I don't want to speak for the whole board. Does the rest of the board feel comfortable with that?
Sure. Yep. And we can talk about it some more now while we're together, to Molly's point.
Yeah, I think we should.
Mhm.
We're all here.
It's easier to talk when we're together.
Right.
Right.
And I'm just here to answer your questions. I
Understood.
Since I'm not gonna be here at the next meeting, I'll be happy to tell you what I think about it now. So if the bridge is being done, it only makes sense to me that we connect the road to the bridge. And in the least intrusive or the best way possible, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that, but I would not be in support of those sidewalks. I think that that's something that people have said that they don't want. I understand why the town included it in there, but I think that that's something that we can add on later and see how it goes. I don't think it's something that, so I would not be in favor of that. And if we're digging up a bridge and it makes sense to do a water line now, I'm fine with that as well.
So a lot of people came to the meetings and said they weren't fans of the sidewalk. We did get a petition of folks who live up in the Tannery Brook area who said they'd like the sidewalks, but I think somebody pointed out that it's pretty much the same distance to walk from that point down East Fillmore as it is to walk down Warren. So,
yeah.
so I think, yeah, I'm just saying the people who wanted it like the fact that they could walk down that way, but they could just walk the other way if they're more comfortable.
But let's see what the road looks like and let's, we all think we know what it's gonna look like, but why don't we wait till the bridge is in and what the road actually is, and then. If people want sidewalks later, we can do it later.
Dave, didn't you say something about you're gonna make the bridge a certain width to accommodate sidewalks either way?
Yeah, that's normal is you always have that on the bridge, the end caps, you got to put an end cap on it anyway, so we'll have it, but yeah, trustee Flynn, absolutely, you could decide to do that later. Okay, the only benefit you would have right now is you probably would have some cost savings, but I'm not sure it'd be a ton anyway, but you definitely would save some money doing it during construction now over later. But if you weren't comfortable with now, you could absolutely, the village DPW could put in the sidewalk later.
So it could be a narrower bridge if you didn't
No,
allow for the sidewalk. you're saying?
we are going to have it on there to protect our residents that walk across the town's bridge. Okay, they will have on the bridgeway an area not in the roadway. You got to remember.
What's the difference between that and a sidewalk? I'm sorry, I don't
Well,
understand.
because you got to remember with the way the bridge is the way the bridge is construction, it's going to have curbs on it already. So we want to make sure we have a place to protect if people were walking across the bridge, not to have them in the roadway or any way a car could get to them. So that's something that we have done on all of ours, including on the Whaley Bridge. If you notice, there's no sidewalk on the east side of that bridge. Okay. But the town still has an area where people could look at the creek or, whatever reason you'd want, we want to have
It
that.
doesn't go road edge right to the railing. Where
No.
somebody would get stuck there.
No.
There's a safe.
No, and then that's the same on the North Grove Bridge. Every one of them will be the same. It just won't have a sidewalk connected to it, but for our purposes, a bridge can be more slippery in a winter, for instance. We want to make sure that anybody's on that bridge, they're in a safe place.
Well, yeah, I think the other thing too, right, with a bridge, you don't have the opportunity to go back and put in a sidewalk in the winter
Exactly.
the way that we do.
Right.
It makes sense to just.
You can't jump off the bridge. Yeah, so and that's actually part of the end cap of how these culverts go together. So it's just part of the construction. And we'll be installing that. And then what we will be doing, depending on what you do, is we'll extend that to what's called the bridge approach. So it'll have that area will have technically a sidewalk, but it's a sidewalk, but it's actually part of the component of the bridge. Okay. And I'd be happy to bring
like a
you
shoulder.
Well, when you leave tomorrow, go look at Whaley.
No, I've walked over it many times.
Yeah, there's no sidewalk connecting that side, but on that side of the bridge, there's a safe place for people to go.
Right. Okay.
That's what it would look like. And it will look like that on the west side of East Fillmore too. So remember that, even though we're not even proposing
the west side for a sidewalk. That still will have that same buffer on it, just like the east side. Okay.
That's, yeah, and I'll say too, it's sort of a, we haven't gotten into yet the new capital plan that the capital committee has come up with, but as a sort of slight preview of some of that, one of the things that we talked about a lot were sidewalks. Not necessarily specific ones, but saying, we really think it's time to look at the village and look at areas where there are and aren't sidewalks, and see what we might want to do. So I think that's worth maybe looking at the village as a whole and thinking, where do we want sidewalks rather than necessarily an area where a lot of people are opposed to them and sort of throwing them there. If we're going to put money into sidewalks, we should put them someplace people want them.
My thoughts.
You have a safe sidewalk on Warren Drive. Going that way,
Mhm.
and it's flat,
Right.
going up the slate, around the corner.
I got one question. I know my friends here aren't gonna like this, but it was raised by another person, was if we do all this work and don't put a sidewalk in and someone gets hit on that road, are we liable that we knew it could have been a safety issue and we didn't put one in?
It will be a difficult proof problem for somebody on that the sidewalk would have made it any safer when they have a reasonable alternative. Because now you have to take into account, how much more traffic do we get along that line? Along that road versus what we had before? How many people would be walking down the sidewalk? There are lots of variables that go into that. I mean, the easiest thing in the world to do is follow along. Winning it's another matter.
So if we don't add the sidewalk to this project, people would walk up East Fillmore on either side. The
But
sidewalk
they're doing
ends
it
at-
now.
Right,
Mhm.
right. The sidewalk ends a couple houses short of the bridge. They would then walk onto the road like they do now. They'd walk up to the bridge and then they would walk down the buffer area to cross the bridge.
But you're not doing anything different than what already exists and has existed for years,
So
and
what
you
you're-
have
what
another
you're now doing
alternative.
is gonna be the deciding point.
Right.
Well, we're actually adding safety features by having it on the bridge.
You're
and
widening the road.
Reconfiguring the road.
Right.
So
Yeah, it should be safer, if anything. It's not like it's going to 2 lanes because there's more traffic. It's going to 2 lanes for other safety reasons. So,
Right.
yeah,
There's a
I don't
safe
think
side
there
that
should
has to
be
be
more
2 lanes.
traffic happening.
I mean, I grew up walking that bridge all the time, and even the chances of 2 cars going across was low. At the
How
same
long is
time.
the bridge? Dave?
It's too small. I know that. The
20 feet?
the current one is very small, Pete. I would guess 14 maybe, and it floods over the top, I believe some of the residents have said. So Dorota told me that it froze, right, Dorota? Okay, all right, well, I'm just what I was told. Either way, it's gonna be bigger now. It's gonna match the current boxes that we have downstream, which are, I believe it's gonna be a 19-foot structure, so it's gonna be longer. That's determined by hydraulic studies. That's not really for any other reason. And what Trustee Vergara mentioned, that actually was what the town's thinking was if we didn't put the sidewalk in as a proposal. Wondering if you're kind of, I that's why we made up the decision we did.
My only hope.
Want
my
the
only
road
hope is
fixed,
that
so
this doesn't
I'm moving
increase
forward.
traffic
Thank you.
and- I mean, people, I think, slow down for that bridge now, and I just hope that this is not going to increase traffic or speed in the area.
Right.
But I mean, we have no choice, it sounds like, on the 2 lanes, so it's
getting done.
so it's getting
now
done.
what-
Right.
I
what
mean,
are
the
we
signs
doing?
are
What do
up,
we
it's gonna
do
get
around
ripped
it?
out in April. I think we should just.
And Matt, your
Quick-
opinion
yeah,
was
let's
to
not
redo
kick
the
can
road,
down the
right?
road. Let's just deal with it tonight. I don't know
What was
if
the
you
question?
Matt's opinion was to do it right and redo the road.
do what.
Redo the road construction.
And the road match the bridge.
To the alignment.
Realigned,
Yeah.
yeah.
Steve, did you want to talk to residents?
We have heard what they had to say, and
I mean,
and
yeah,
as I said, I kind of feel like 90% of what I mean, like Molly said, you gotta line, if the roads, if it's going in, and it is going in. I didn't think you need to line the road up. And the water line, you got it. As long as it's dug up. Doesn't make sense not.
So do you want to wait till January 18th? 17th?
What's the general consensus here?
I mean, I'm looking at the notes that I took from the public hearing. I mean,
Do you want Kathy to talk about the highlights of the resolution in front of you?
Are you okay with the fact that you have these handed to us? And we
No, I'm not okay with
skim read them?
I'm
You need
not
more
okay.
time, but what I'm gonna ask you is, do we need more time to read through these, or was this enough time to speed read and read through all this and get a sense that these are right?
That's it. If you wanted more time, he
I
said
mean,
he
is
could
this
wait till
what
January
you-
18th.
I mean,
Why don't we just
Well,
table it to the
best I
18th?
could,
Is
but
this something the town should agree on too? Because there's things in here that say the town shall do this. So we can all agree to this, but if the town says no, does this mean?
I agree. I would like to see that.
So why don't we give the town?
Well, it's only fair, like you're saying. Listen, it sounds like we have your verbal moving forward. That's good enough for us. Table it for now. Get the town together. Luke can prepare a document
Give
with
the town
Ms. Thomas.
looking at it,
Everybody agrees.
speak, people have time to talk to residents more if they want, or go down there, meet Dave down there.
Yeah,
we
and
get
I'll
a
say,
down there and walk you through.
and the sidewalk really is the smallest issue. That one
Right.
is one that literally you could decide next summer. Okay, the road reconfiguration is really what I need to know. And it appears, listening to all 7 of you, that you understand that that's what we need to do. So it appears we're good to move forward. If that's good, we'll have trustee or let Luke hear you.
yeah, for me, it's like the sidewalk, it's like,
Alright,
Yeah.
let's do it
I think
on
we
the
just keep
18th.
that
We'll give the
separate.
town a copy of the resolution. We'll have time to read it over and
But
be
keep that
thorough
as
and
a
make our
separate-
decision, and then we can revisit on the 18th without Molly.
Yeah, I agree, the sidewalk.
17.
17.
Yeah.
Without
As a, thinking as a parent, if I lived in that neighborhood, I would tell my kids that you were to use the sidewalk on Warren Drive.
Is there a,
Don't go up that way if they're younger, you know.
Mhm.
Sure.
Safe. There is a safe way out. to find-
The sidewalk's an easy one to put on as an extra in your bed. That is easy. You could literally decide that one after. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe you find it's cheap enough where you'd say do it, or you may say, the heck with that, it's too much money. Does that make you more, is that more comfortable for the village? Not.
That's not a money
Well,
thing for me.
Either.
No, it's not what we're gonna do. If people don't want it in front of the house, and why should I have it something that's less?
I think
Yeah.
the one money issue for me is documenting scope of works on the construction documents, what the village is paying for and what the town is paying for. And it sounds like, Dave, your opinion is that's very hard to do because our work would be separated. But that's how I would like to see the documentation, just so we know we're paying for our portion, town's paying for their portion.
I guess I didn't understand that. I just wanted to make it clear. I didn't want to put a bid out that had a snake road next to a straight road.
Yeah, I just want clear delineation of scope.
Okay, just clear it out on the final bid.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Because part of this also, yes, we were talking about all along, that even when you do a resolution or whatever the town might have, sorry, they're concerned, that we would ultimately take whatever everyone agrees are some of the details here and put them in a written agreement. So starting out right, yeah, exactly, but also we have it all.
I think they did delineate that for you too, Kathy. Did he in his details? Some kind of already did do that. So we'll just make sure it's really clear in the bid though, Grace. But the paperwork that our Floyd Albert sent to Kathy did have every item down.
Over the estimate.
Yes, I don't know if she forwarded that or not, but
Everything was forwarded to the board.
okay, all right. So, but we will definitely make that clear on the bid.
But again, it's not, there's other things in here that are meant to, I only wrote this from the perspective of the village and, you know, working with the attorney, so.
I can't speak for the whole board, but I would be very uncomfortable passing a resolution on the town level that has things that the village is going to be doing, unless, I mean, there's not really a reason for a joint resolution, but an agreement where we would delimit what our responsibility is and yours, so that when we move forward, everyone's clear on the costs and we don't have any confusion. That'd be something we'd absolutely love to do.
Let's get that all put together then for the 17th. Anything else? All right, do we need to, it's just an old discussion. Do we need to table anything?
Well, you don't have a motion.
There was no motion.
Right,
If you don't have a
so
motion, there's no-
we made a motion for the water line.
We did.
Oh, you did?
Kristen and Marcia, did we actually vote on that?
Nope.
We didn't, right?
Okay, your choice is either withdraw or table it.
Kristen?
Yeah, I'll withdraw it. That's fine.
All right, so the water line motion is withdrawn
The second,
and second,
Marcia was the.
I'll
You withdrawing your
second, I'll
second?
second the withdrawal.
is that right? Is that appropriate?
yeah, close enough.
Okay, did we vote on that?
No, you don't vote on that because.
Very good. All right, we'll get the rest of the paperwork done and everybody be comfortable by January 17th.
That's fuzzy, thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for
Thank you,
coming.
Dave.
Thanks, Luke.
Again, if any trustee wants to reach out.
Appreciate it. Second, speakers and communications. Anybody have any issue they'd like to talk about? Now's your chance and last chance. Raise your hand when recognized. Come on up, give us your name and address. Say your piece.
I do. But this is. Yeah, and
You're called.
this will be my last plea. My name is Aurora Johnson. I'm at 898 East Fillmore Avenue. I am, when you come around down the hill, I'm the red house on the right. I am again. As far, you have already had my thoughts about the road configuration, but my biggest thing is the sidewalk. There is no way that it, and I would ask you guys to come over anytime and check out our yard. There's no way that there's a sidewalk is going to survive in our front yard. Okay, it's very wet there. Okay, and when we get the rain this week, I will ask you guys to come over. Okay, we're always, the water's always ponding there unless the village is going to plan on, or somebody is going to plan on building up my property to put a sidewalk. A sidewalk is not going to. Okay, that's just my opinion. Okay, I also, with the sidewalk going up the hill, I don't know how that's going to survive either with all. Okay, so that's, you have my opinion on everything else already, so that's all I have to say at this point.
We got
all right?
you. We know.
All right, thank you. All right, first of all, you guys are great, all right? Yeah, you guys have a tough job, and I will respect whatever you guys come up with, okay? But I'm pleading as far as the sidewalk, so thank you.
Thanks, Rhoda. Just real quick,
Does
sir.
somebody else?
Yeah, just real quick.
Behind her.
Kathy, the ADA compliance, you're the ADA officer. I asked you to look into the ADA compliance of that sidewalk because of the pitch, right? So what's the issue with the pitch there?
I don't know anything specifically about it. You asked me to ask the question and I asked the question of the engineer that's working for the town. And that person guaranteed that the sidewalk that would be constructed there would be fully ADA compliant. That's all I know.
That's the Foyt Albanese guy, their architect, right? He got back to you and said the sidewalk they put in, if they do, would be ADA compliant.
Correct.
Thank you. Sir?
Ben Reynolds, 900 East Fillmore. It's probably unwelcome, unsolicited feedback, but the whole topic just felt so emergent to me. It's hard as a resident to have a good feeling as a result of that. I mean, we just learned about potentially costs that haven't been anticipated because of ideas proposed as residents, which is like, okay, that's more pain on top of it. But also, as I'm sort of sat here learning, I mean, I haven't seen a plan for what was described, but there was a verbal description of what's planned to happen. And since this whole topic came up, I've been paying much more attention to the grade of the road and the layout there. And I think what I just heard was the proposal is to put a 90-degree bend set back from where the road currently is. And I would just encourage, if anybody hasn't seen a plan, go look at what that's going to look like. I mean, there were vague assertions about safety and so on, which is like, you know, without data, it's hard to say. But I would just encourage you. I mean, it's cold. I'll happily make you a coffee if you want to come around and take a look. But it's going to be weird, whatever is my hunch. And, you know, if safety is the word, a chicane may actually not be a bad idea, but for sure, that 90-degree on that slope, that feels bad from a road point of view. It feels terrible from I don't even know how you'd navigate that on the sidewalk.
It's more the alignment. Ship from that bridge. right?
Yeah, I mean,
And
so
it's
I'm-
wider and it's going more.
The right of way is right up against the edge of the
So-
bridge,
And
but
it's
they're moving
moving.
it all
But
west.
it's doing extreme snake.
Right.
They're trying to avoid that. And
yeah.
it's a 90, but didn't it look more like a sweep as opposed to a hard? 90?
Yeah, that's, I've been.
Right, yeah, in the drawings that I remember.
Which I feel like doesn't
It's a-
slow
it-
people down as much.
It's a rounded, well, I mean, the hard 90 is.
Right, it's not like.
So it's a softer 90. And widens out.
So I'm
Okay,
saying,
so-
hard 90 makes people slow way down and they make their turn versus just kind of rolling on through. You know, can I just ask, you're Ben?
Yeah.
Are you in the house that was the Fritz and Chrissy Hoffman's house?
Who's asking?
Nah.
Yes. Is that the right house?
Yeah, that's right.
So what responsibility do you have as far as, because Rhoda's house is between you and East Fillmore, right? So is that,
Kind of.
that long driveway, is that all your driveway coming
That's
down
right.
the side? Okay.
Yeah, and then there's property next to it as well, which is in the village.
Okay, so between there and Martin is where
That's right, yeah.
your sidewalk would be.
Yeah.
If it goes in.
But I'm just the whole, I guess again, like I said, unsolicited, probably unwelcome feedback. It felt very emergent, and having not really seen a plan for what was just described, I'd encourage you to come take a look, because it's, the
We'll
property
bring the
lines
drawing.
moving and so
Yeah,
on.
Maureen, has he had access to the plans that we're looking at?
Things online, but the last drawing that the town gave us is not, if you go to the village website, you can email me, Maureen, and I will send you
I'd love to.
a drawing
Thanks.
via email. It's, we can do that.
You
Great.
guys should have everything that we're looking at.
Cool. The other thing is, so it's not my business, but we build a lot of buildings at my company. The idea of having the impossible idea of a construction plan without multiple options in it is a little bit alien to me. So I appreciate the village advocating for that and trying to build options around it. So thank you for that.
Sure, yeah, we weren't excited about getting it the way we did in October.
No doubt.
Thanks for
Thanks.
recognizing that, Ben. All right, anyone else like to speak?
Can I be brief?
Sure, I don't know, can you?
Ken Mazer, 865 East Fillmore Avenue. I'm one of the residents that does not have a sidewalk right now. That's one of the reasons, main reason, but one of the reasons I purchased my house 32 years ago. And just the quaintness and the nature that if anybody hasn't been in that area, take a walk down there, because dozens of people walk their pets, their significant others, their spouses, their children, and it's just one of the few places in East Aurora you can still walk through and just enjoy nature. And once that's taken away, it's not coming back. And I realize they want to do a 2-lane bridge. I don't know why they couldn't just reconstruct a 1-lane bridge. Because if people drive through that area, like I say, 32 years, so fast, I just pray to God there's no head-on collision, because it's amazing. That hasn't happened. I just think a 2-lane bridge is, and I know that's not debatable anymore, but I think that's just gonna cause more people to use that. And, but anyway, about the sidewalks, I'm restricted, I'm limited on my medical, what I can do medically. I have a hard enough time keeping my driveway clean in the winters. And I just think an added sidewalk, which my property is about 120 feet wide, I would have to pay someone to do that. And right now I try to take care of, what I can in the yard and that, but I'm basically by myself. My wife's with me, but she's disabled, so she cannot help at all in the outdoors during the winter. And I wanted to correct Dave, because once he was here, I didn't know he left. There's actually 3 residents that don't have sidewalks, and he kept mentioning 2 residents. Well, I'm in the middle of the 3 residents. There's one on each side of me that do not have sidewalks. So I wanted to make that correction. When he was here, I don't know.
Yeah, Lisa next to you, she doesn't have one.
And Lisa's to the right, and then there's Matt and Brooke Adams
Right.
on the west side of me.
West
So
side, yeah.
right east side of me, and I know they would not want to be able to be responsible for that too. But unfortunately, they're not here today. But
So
I'm totally against the sidewalks, obviously.
Yeah, and to the point you made with the bridge,
Yeah.
by the village winning the lawsuit that the town's responsible for the bridges, that means they get to make all the decisions with
Sure,
the actual
I
bridges. So
understand that's
that's out of our hands. But with the sidewalk, I know you brought up the drain plates the last time you spoke. And I asked Kathy to talk to their architect about it. And they did come back and say, and Dave reiterated, that they would make sure that issue. I'm actually not a fan of that. I'm not think I'm a fan of the sidewalks. I'm just saying we're trying to cover all of
Right now,
it.
we have a couple large trees that, developed over the 32 years I was there, and it's a nice shade area in the summer where my family can, daughters come over and we can sit out in front. That definitely would go right through that. And one's a huge spruce tree, it's probably 50 years old. I know that would be destroyed, so it's just, it'd be unfortunate that we would have to suffer that loss of what we've developed. over
Lose
the
the tree and
32
take on
years.
the new responsibility of the walk itself.
Yeah, and so,
But
but what,
the pay for half the cost of the sidewalk.
and I heard about that, and I mentioned that to Dave, and he says, absolutely not. And that was our first meeting. He says, that definitely wouldn't happen. I said, well, you better look into that, because there was some issues with another neighbor I talked to recently, had the same problem with the sidewalks. And
Who said that? Dave said that that wasn't the case?
well, very first
doesn't
time.
know where So the village code is that if a resident, if the village has to put a sidewalk in front of a resident where there isn't one, the code currently reads.
Yeah.
They have to pay for
And
half of it.
I was kind of.
So
aware
if the
of that.
town's gonna make us pay for
Yeah.
it, that's by law, that's what we would have.
And at
to
the
do.
time, I didn't know how much knew about that, but when I mentioned that about the cost to the homeowner, the residents, he said, no, that definitely isn't the case. And
Yeah.
I said, I didn't, obviously.
It's a village
Yeah, it's a
code.
village, and
Yeah.
I didn't know that at the time, but
Mhm.
one thing that, and I'll end this quickly. One thing I didn't hear at all mentioned during this whole process, and I did mention it today. I wish he was still here because I don't want to talk behind his back and disrespect him. About the drainage, because there are storm drains. One's right in front of my property, and I know that storm drain, when we get a lot of rain, it doesn't drain properly, and my drain tiles go into there, and then my backyard gets a foot deep full of water, and it goes against my foundation. And this has been happening about 10 years now, and I don't know what if there was maybe a clogged drain. It only seemed to happen when it rains after maybe a snow melt and it rains. And I don't know where that drain is going into the creek.
Give me 1 second. So Matt, do you know of this particular storm drain he's talking about? And do you know if anything's gonna change when they do the actual project?
When they do the actual project, during the excavation, when they find the drain, they'll connect to it properly into the brook.
Yeah, because I did mention that to Mr. Gunner the very first time we went outside in September, that there was a storm drain going right along the from where my storm drain is in the front of the house. It's going along the south side of the road, and then it takes that bend. And I believe what I followed it out, if that's the same drain, about a 10 or 12-inch plastic pipe comes out, and it's so low that if that creek only raises a foot, I mean, that backs up that drain, and then the streets flood in front of my house, and that backs up all the drains. So I did mention it to him, but I haven't heard anything mentioned.
I'd like to think, and we'll revisit it with him.
Yeah,
But I'd like to think when he's doing this project, he'll make sure that gets addressed and gets taken care of. By the way, the answer, Ken, is no, you cannot be brief.
Okay. The reason I brought it up now is we had all that rain a couple weeks ago after that big snow, and that's when it flooded. That's the first time it flooded in many years. And I'm like, I should have brought that up, but old age memory.
That might be one of the benefits of the project, though.
Yeah,
is that
I just haven't heard anything about the drainage issues once they're redoing the road. So.
Can I follow up on that, Mayor?
Please do.
Because you had asked,
Thanks, Ken.
you had asked me to
Thank
follow
you.
up on this prior to this meeting. And I took from the minutes, what was said, that there was a concern that the sidewalks would interfere with the drain tiles. So I did send this was back on December 15th, so last week. You and I had discussed it, and I sent a question to the engineer, saying, would they guarantee that there wouldn't be any issues? And you also have talked to me about when we've done other projects and people have said, oh, I have concerns about this, that, and the other thing. And the town says, well, don't worry about it. And then, or the village said that. And then ultimately what the resident was concerned about came to be. So you wanted us to be more proactive to get protections. So, which is why a lot of this was written. So when I asked the engineer the question about the concern about the tiles, the specific answer is, and I could actually forward this to you also if I get your email somehow, or in any event, it said from the engineer, the resident will have an opportunity to comment at the public meeting. So that's talking about the meeting that he wants to have with the residents. The public meeting is tentatively scheduled for sometime in January, but the exact date is not known. If Ken has any additional documentation or more information on the location of the drain, he can either bring it to the public meeting or submit it to Foy Albert for our review and analysis. So that's the advice that he gave us. Now, he didn't specifically say that, which Dave said today, oh, it'll basically, that's why the verbal thing said, well, it'll all be taken care of. So when I had relayed to the mayor that this was the answer that was not very specific, that a protection would in fact occur as far as the construction, what happens. So that is why number 4 this is actually in the sidewalk portion. If you don't do the sidewalks, then it won't be an issue. Number 4 says that the town, they said we shouldn't say what the town should do, but this is a village, the way this is fashioned, trying to protect the interests of the village and ultimately have a written agreement that's in number 7. But it says the town and their engineer shall ensure the design for and construction of the sidewalk shall not have any negative impacts on properties once construction is completed, including specifically that the drain tiles located at 865 East Fillmore Avenue are not impacted by the sidewalk installation. So that is something that the village was asking in its resolution, that the town would in fact honor that. So it's up to you if you want to continue to say that that is a protection that you want, or whatever you would like to do, or however these resolutions get altered and get, massaged with the town, it's really up to all of you how you want all of that to be in its final form.
All right, thank you.
I have a question,
Go ahead, Rhoda.
and you brought up something very key with the tile. And I had forwarded an email to Grace regarding when my husband and I first heard about the bridge replacement. To make a long story short, when we replaced our basement, there's a lot of old pipes and so forth on our property, because our property actually, there was a garage at one time behind us, and there were a lot of, everything was shared on the property. But when we replaced our basement, we didn't replace our basement floor. We actually went up on because of the wetness and because of the Tannery Brook, the person that did the engineering for our replacement on the basement, we kept the existing floor. There was an old drain pipe that was actually, it still is attached to our old basement floor, and it actually goes down to the creek. We don't know where it ends. We don't use it. So I did say, I actually, when we first heard about this, about the project, I actually emailed Dave Gunner and actually the town of Aurora supervisor, and I forwarded to Grace, stating that if they run into this when they're demolishing everything, just to cut it, we're not using it, because that pipe actually goes underneath our sewer line. And because everything is so spongy there, it could, if they get into, like if they come in and they find it and demolish it, and my husband actually pointed this out to me, they come and demolish it and lift it up, they could in turn harm our sewer line. So that also, and with our front yard is spongy and is wet, that's another concern I have with the sidewalk. I mean, we have our sewer line going down. When we replaced our basement, we did replace the water line and the gas line. Because everything was so old and everything got disconnected from the back. It's a long story, okay? But that is another concern. If they go through the road reconstruction, if you guys decide to even do that, if they do something and harm any of our infrastructure, are they going to be responsible for that, or are we going to be responsible for that? If so, as they're going around, okay, reconfiguring the roads and so forth, okay, and if something comes along and they harm,
they break it, they fix it.
Right.
It's really that simple.
can you? Because I'm a little hearing impaired. If you,
Oh,
yeah, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
they
No,
break-
I seriously am.
No, that's fine. I've had those moments. They break it, they fix it.
Pardon me?
If they damage.
They
something-
break it, they fix it.
They break it, they fix it. Okay, they would be responsible for that.
Yeah, I guess, Rhoda, I would ask you and Ken, put your concerns into an email, so there's a trail.
I know
Send it to
when
the
I-
village, send it to the town, so everyone has a record of it, so no one can say, oh, we didn't know, or we misunderstood. You know, write it all up, send it in, and say,
Okay.
here's what our concern specifically is, and that way, nobody can say they didn't know it.
They didn't know,
Going
okay, because there's
well.
also, we have a phone line right there by the bridge too, that we still are connected to. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of infrastructure there, that's why I caution you guys.
Put it all in an email and send it into the village and the town.
And I would request a response, not just sending the email.
Pardon me?
Request a response. in your
When
email.
I do email.
Because, yeah, so in that way you have documentation of what the answer was at the time, otherwise someone could say, never saw it.
All right, well, I'm gonna send, I'll send a little list of
Yeah,
concerns.
the village responds to every email. that comes in.
Yeah,
That's it for time.
We can't speak for him.
Can't speak for
We
anybody
just know
else.
more.
Sir,
Right now.
sorry, name and address.
You gotta come up here. You gotta come up here. Thank you.
Can you just communicate about 5C, please? I know it.
Advertising for bids for the improvements to the culvert structure behind 227 Main Street. Kathy, do you want to?
You were in the room right when they decided not to do anything with it
I
currently.
saw that, but I don't know what it's about.
Okay, I sent you an email. Did you not see my email?
I saw the email saying that it was gonna be on the agenda tonight.
Right, to go out for bid. To and the component that it does involve your property, involves the property of Pokeyoke where the permanent easement is there. And the construction project will be mainly to move the access for the DPW because it's just like the manhole that's on your property. I'm sure you're familiar with it. And you know that we had to make a bigger access when we cleared out.
You fix it, it's not always the case.
When we cleared out the debris, we opened that up quite a bit more than what is designed there. And we realized that that's probably a good idea to have better access there than what is currently there. So the idea is to move it all to the side going over, potentially all on the Pokeyoke property, still again with the permanent easement. Jim Vaughn also, I think you would have gotten that same email from the Pokeyoke. And so I don't know if you'll always have to take down the fence because you'll be working in that area, but potentially might not even need to take down sections of the fence, but the access will all be on the Pokeyoke property. So potentially would not, but so.
Well, your manhole, his manhole with the ladder will still be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
But-
In
but
the
we'll-
driveway,
but-
in the easement that is under your drive.
If we need to use it, but the idea would be that potentially the clean outs would occur.
Yeah.
And the new
What's
access
there
is
now?
being
There's a
constructed.
Square metal manhole in the Pokeyoke parking lot. It'd be right there.
Yeah, a
That's
square,
the
big
spot,
square opening,
Matt?
yes. I'm sorry, round.
That's gonna go in there. Into the parking lot, so it's easier to access if there is an issue.
Right, so the case, the fence would be in it. Okay. Couple of concerns I would have on that is if you move it, and I understand the easement of getting to it. Being in the Pokeyoke. But to me, all of the bottleneck is at the funnel at the bank. You know, so.
That's being addressed as well.
Okay, how's that being addressed?
With the concrete structure that is gonna. Put everything into the pipe. Concrete.
Okay.
So there won't be any flat edges for debris to catch on to build up and cause an issue.
Okay.
It'll be designed to flow right through.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Anyone else? Sir.
Be quick.
This last word. I believe it's
Greg Goggins, 813 Martin Drive. I am saddened that there is going to be a 2-lane bridge across what now is the 1 lane and has been. We will miss that in the neighborhood. It's very quaint and picturesque. I'll leave you with without repeating what my neighbors have said, but I am in support of most of what they've said. Whether you decide to change the approach of the road from either side. Maybe from an engineering standpoint, that makes sense. But hold off on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Anyone else?
I have one last question. I know. I'm
Ken, you never look so good.
When Mr. Gunner was proposing, when we were talking to him, as a group, out by the bridge, we had the two little meetings and he proposed the road configuration to us and the sidewalk. He basically, and I remember asking him, I said, who is going to be paying for this? And he said that we were not responsible for paying for this. Okay, so when you were talking about the cost of the sidewalks, where we would be responsible for half of that.
It's in the current village code that is how it is supposed to.
Okay, but you see now he told us that and I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, we talked about that with Ken. He doesn't know the village code. He knows the town code. Right? So that's why we kind of even explained it to him while he was here.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you decide, would you be charging us for these sidewalks?
It's in the current code.
And if these sidewalks are installed on village property, do we get charged for that? Because
They're installed on your private property within the right of way.
Okay, well, and can the village, if you decide to do this, could the village code be altered not to charge us? Because we were told that it was going to be part of the project. I'm just asking. I want you to.
What we're asking hypothetically could, that answer would be yes, but would you want to expect it? I wouldn't want to me say that I would make a motion to do that.
But do you understand that wouldn't be fair to us?
I understand. Oh, that part I understand.
Yeah,
100%.
because of a lot of miscommunication.
Oh yeah, we're telling
a lot of too much communication. That's or two-sided communication.
Sure.
All right, so I'm just asking. I will put it in the email. Thank you.
Thank you to the village and the town.
And
Good, thank you.
we're all going to get cut.
All right. Anyone else? Last chance. The lady next to Ben. You're the only one who hasn't spoke. Okay. All right. That is the end of our speakers and communications. Moving on to a department head report. Shane?
Carol Cade went well. We lucked out. Everybody got to the Bills game before we closed the road, so there's no traffic issues. The snow held off for the most part and did get a little light about halfway through. Everybody started sliding out, but no issues. Our newest part-time dispatcher's training is going well. She's going to be just great. And we're interviewing 3 more candidates for dispatcher positions this next week, and hopefully we find at least one out of those positions. That's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you, Shane. Matt?
We plowed and moved a significant amount of snow this past weekend and plan on doing it again this coming weekend.
Ooh. Thanks for your hard work, Matt. Maureen, or wait, Kathy, you're next.
Okay. Mayor, you had brought to my attention that the planning commission chair had spoken to you about the special use permit that was referred to them having to do with the homegrown restaurant business. And our code does require that when a business changes hands, that the new owner get their own special use permit as opposed to continuing on with whatever the old owner had. So that has all been done in a proper manner by the new owner. But the only thing is that, and you did make a referral. We did put it on your agenda to refer it to the planning commission, because that is kind of standard procedure, although it is not an absolute that you must refer everything. But sometimes in the past, when you haven't referred something, the planning commission has questioned why you didn't refer it. So we're kind of in the mode where you refer everything. In this particular instance, the only thing that is changing is the hours from the old permit that the previous owner had and what the new people we doing. So basically, and the hours are actually shortened. The current proposal for the new owner will be from Monday through Saturday from 11 to 7 and Sunday from 11 to 6. And the previous owner had the same start times, but definitely later 9 o'clock closing time and 10 o'clock closing time. So basically even though this has already been referred and you would expect to get it, it would have to go to the planning commission and at their meeting on January 3rd, I believe it is. And then you would get it back at your meeting on January 17th. The planning commission chair says there's really no reason to meet that night other than this application that is not much of anything. So the idea is that the planning commission is going to cancel their meeting and of course, let the applicant know also. And you will just get you won't have any recommendation from the planning commission, but it will come back to your meeting on in your one meeting that you're having in January. You'll set a public hearing. You'll hold the hearing in February. And it's just a very minor change in this case for the special use permit for the homegrown kitchen. So wanted to make you well aware of that. The other item is as I said, I did mention earlier, I did attend the cannabis training that Nikon put on. It was very well done. And I've been talking to Chris and Liz about it, some of the different things that maybe weren't in there before. It's still going. I don't know. I guess it depends. Is it going fast or slow, depending on your point of view with the Cannabis Control Board? They did just put out on December 14th, which is the day before the training that Nikon had given, the proposed rules and regulations. And then there's this whole time period where everyone gets to look at them and people get to comment, and then they ultimately will decide on them. So if you want to go online and look those up, I couldn't find a good link to send you, but if anybody can go online and look up what those proposals are and read through them if you want to. I think they're 238 pages, something like that long. And Nikon was going to continue to look at that. So I would say good news in the village because you're already ahead of the curve as far as already having adopted your zoning regulations for those businesses. So I think you're in good shape. And I think at whatever point in time that someone in this, it doesn't have to be in this area, anyone applies to potentially put a business, cannabis retail dispensary or any of the other cannabis businesses that can come to town or within our village limits, that is, you'll be in a good shape to respond to that. There was another thing that just like the liquor authority state rule, you have to get a 30-day notification when the state gets an application. Although I don't think you've ever waited the 30 days. People are always requesting these 30-day waivers, which you often do. But so in any event, I don't know whether they'll have that, but it'll be 30 days. You'll be, if someone applies at the state to put something in this area, you'll get that notification. That'll be your first indication. And it'll just be basically a notification for at least 30 days. And then you'll decide on everything to do with the application. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Maureen.
February 4th it's a Saturday, is going to be the first budget meeting for the department heads. And February 6th, before the board meeting at 6 o'clock, we'll do the police department budget meeting. I'm sorry, I'm just a super planner and I need it done ahead of time. The 4th, I would like you guys to come at 8:30 and I'll make sure the first department head is ready to go at 9. And if you guys are all set and ready at 8:30, I'll start.
Yeah, 8:30 works for me. I'd ask that you and the department heads have all the history as well as the drill down of everything, not broad groupings, but actual easy to read specifics on exactly what they're asking for.
So the history reports have already gone to all the department heads. They are aware that you're looking for the same drill down as usual.
That work for everybody? 8:30 on February 4th?
Yep.
And then it'll be 6 o'clock on the 6th.
And then Monday the 6th.
6
Yeah.
o'clock.
And if we don't finish on Saturday, most likely if we didn't, it would be me, and I would also do it on the 6th.
Yeah. Thanks for getting this done so early. I like having the budget meetings earlier.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just like a crazy planner and can't handle it if I don't have it done ahead of time.
Oh, I like it better this way.
Thank you for splitting it before
Yeah.
a meeting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, one Saturday. One
Yeah.
Saturday's plenty. Agreed. All right, thanks, Maureen. Kathy, do you and Maureen have any updates for Liz? Do you know from the building department? Okay, all right. Going to the trustees, Steve.
I'm all set, thank
All
you.
right, Molly,
Good, thank you.
Marsha,
Nothing?
Ernie,
I'm good.
Grace.
Do you find anything out about training for EpiPens?
We did,
Yeah.
I think we kind of found one online and we're gonna move forward with it.
Cool.
It's in he put it in the order of training that he already had scheduled, so within the next few months, we should have everybody up and running on it.
Sweet. That's it.
Nice, Grace. Kristen.
All set, thanks.
All right, I guess I could ask the board this, in the town, there was concern about the male or female impersonators being in their code. Kathy, Maureen, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the same in our code. You said it was a boilerplate
Right.
from 30 years ago that everybody kind of put in their codes. But it's not really appropriate in this day and age. So would you guys be interested in just striking those 4 words from our code proactively?
Yes.
Are we done with that?
Yep.
Can I get a motion to set a public hearing for January 17th to remove male and female impersonators from our code?
So moved.
Moved by Marcia, second. Second by Grace. Further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, public hearing is approved. Exactly. Thank you.
What am I scared?
All right, I think that's it, believe it or not. Unless you guys want to get into anything else.
No.
Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Moved by Grace, second. Second by Steve. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourn. Thank you all for coming.